Hi there guys, how are we all doing? Now, before Christmas I posted a video where I explained how Akihiron changes the Memento combo when you're using the Dark Blade or the Angwitch combo. I had a request on that video to do a video featuring the Horse, Tatsunootoshigo and the Goblin combos as well. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be running through how to use Tatsunootoshigo and Goblin using Akihiron within the combo itself. So yeah, without further ado, I think we'll just go straight into this. So if you have enjoyed the content that I've been releasing recently, please do subscribe down below. It'd be very much appreciated if you did. Trying to hit 500 subscribers by towards the end of May, basically by the time that this channel is a year old, on the 24th of May. So yeah, I'd be really appreciative if you could hit subscribe and get us a little bit closer to that goal. So without further ado, let's get into starting with the Horse combo and then doing the Goblin combo straight after. All right, let's go through the plays using Tatsunootoshigo first. So I'm just going to be covering sort of the big full combo that you can do when it comes to mementos. There are obviously, you need to worry about hand traps and stuff like that. But I want to do these sort of full combo videos so you can get used to the cards that you've got in your hand rather than you kind of worrying about, okay, this is a specific point where they should imperm or anything like that. If you're playing at kind of a lower level, they're not necessarily going to imperm you or ash blossom you at exactly the same position at every time, so because they might not know what the deck can do. So yeah, I'm just going to focus on getting through the full combo. This will help you to learn your cards essentially, and it'll show you a really strong end board that you can finish on. Okay, so we're going to use Tatsunootoshigo here. So Tatsunootoshigo can special summon itself because we only control Memento monsters or no monsters at all. So we can special summon out Tatsunootoshigo. Tatsunootoshigo's then got an extra effect of being able to pop a Memento card on the field, which monster on the field. So we can only pop itself. And then we can send monsters from deck to graveyard whose levels are up to equal to the card that was popped. So we're going to pop the Horse and we're going to send Gatik and Sheep because we can add up to level 5. Okay, when he's sent to the graveyard by a Memento monster's effect, Gatik can special summon itself from the graveyard, and then on summon, Gatik can add back a card to our hand, so we get to add back the Sheep to our hand. Now, Sheep can also special summon itself. Its pre-requirements are that a monster has been popped during this turn, so which we have popped the Horse, so we get to summon out the Sheep, and then on summon, Sheep gets to use its effect to fuse. So we're going to fuse these two into a Twin Dragon. Okay, Twin Dragon has an effect on summon. He can pop a Memento monster on the field in order to be able to add 2 Memento monsters from deck to hand. So the only thing that we've got is the Twin Dragon, so we pop itself, and then add our boss monster, Combined Creation, and our Dark Blade to our hand. Twin Dragon has a second effect when he gets destroyed. So when he's destroyed, he gets a special summon a level 6 or lower Memento monster from the graveyard. We're going to special summon out the Sheep because we're going to be able to use the other effect of Sheep in a second. And now we have our best normal summon in the deck with Memento and Dark Blade in our hand. Combined Creation, you're just going to sit there for a little while because we don't need you just yet. All right, let's normal summon out the Memento and Dark Blade, and then we're going to use its effect in order to pop the Sheep to get a search and a special summon. So we're going to pop the Sheep in order to summon out the Angwitch. So 2 effects going to go off here. We're going to have Chainlink 1 is Sheep in the graveyard. He's going to be able to send a Memento card from deck to graveyard. And Angwitch is going to be able to search for a Memento monster. So we're going to search for the Horn Dragon off of Angwitch's effect. And we're going to send the fusion from Sheep's effect. We have in the graveyard 3 or more Memento monsters, so that means that we can special summon our Horn Dragon from our hand. Now we need a fusion in our hand. We've got one in the graveyard, we need one in the hand. Luckily, fusion can search itself. So when it's in the graveyard, fusion can banish itself, destroy a Memento monster, and then search for a Memento spell or trap. So we're going to banish the fusion, destroy the Dark Blade, and search for the Memento fusion. Now, the other really cool thing about Memento fusion is if a monster has been popped this turn, then we get to use fusion and shuffle back monsters from the graveyard back into the deck. So we're going to do exactly that. And what we're going to shuffle back is Twin Dragon. We're going to shuffle back the sheep and shuffle back the horse because we have used those effects. So we don't need those anymore. That's going to allow us to summon out the Creation King. Now, important thing when we're summoning the Creation King, it needs to go in one of these 3 spaces. That's because we're going to be summoning a cross sheep to an extra monster zone. So we need it to be pointing to Creation King whilst we're here. So Creation King needs to go into one of those 3 spaces. I'm going to place it there so that I remember exactly where it is at all times. Creation King has an effect on summon. He gets to send 3 monsters from deck or extra deck to the graveyard. 3 cards, I think it is actually, but we're only going to be sending monsters with this. So we're going to be sending Creation King. We're going to be sending a copy of Goblin and a copy of Akihiron. So as you can see, this is now where it's going to start changing because we've got Akihiron in rotation now. Okay. Let us grab our field spell next. So, we're going to use Creation King in the graveyard. Banish itself from the graveyard in order to add our Memento to our hand. And then straight away, we're going to play our field spell directly to the field. Right, we haven't used the other effect of Angwitch yet, so let's do that. We're now going to use Angwitch's effect to destroy our Horn Dragon in order to target a level 2 or lower Memento monster in the graveyard and special summon it. So we're going to destroy the Horn Dragon in order to special summon out the Memento Goblin. 2 effects are going to go off again. So we've got Field Spell and we've got Akihiron in the graveyard. Akihiron's effect allows him, when a monster gets popped, we can special summon Akihiron. So we're going to do exactly that. Field Spell, when a monster gets popped, we can special summon a monster with a level lower than the destroyed monster from the graveyard. We destroyed a level 8, so we're going to summon back the Gatic. It doesn't actually matter, you could have used the Dark Blade as well. Doesn't matter. But we're summoning back the Gatic. Alright, now we've got Goblin on the field, and Goblin's really useful to us. So Goblin allows us to destroy a Memento monster and then send 2 cards from deck to graveyard. So we're going to use his effect to destroy the Akihiron, and then we're going to send Mace and Cranium Burst to the graveyard. Akihiron has an effect when he's destroyed. He allows us to add back a card from our graveyard or banishment, a Memento card. So we're going to add back the Memento Fusion. We've already used both effects of Memento Fusion, so we can't use it again this turn, but it is a quick play spell, so it's going to be useful for your opponent's turn. Okay, let's now go into that cross sheet that I mentioned earlier. So we're going to link off the Goblin and the Angwitch for cross sheep. So cross sheep needs to go where it's pointing to Creation King. They've all got such weird names. Creation King, and we need this space here available to us so that we can summon our combined creation to that slot there, which we're going to do now. So combined creation can now summon itself from your hand by shuffling back 5 Memento monsters with different names from your graveyard. So we're going to shuffle back these 5. I'm going to leave the Mace in our graveyard because we're going to use a Mace as a bit of a follow-up play in a second. And then Combined Creation summons himself out to this position here. We've got Fusion in our hand, and then he gets to summon himself there. Cross Sheep is then going to activate because a monster has been summoned to a zone that it points to, and we have a fusion in the other zone that it points to. And that allows us to special summon a level 4 or lower monster from the deck, from the graveyard, sorry. So we're going to special summon out our Mace. Mace is pretty much the last effect that we're going to use now. We're going to use Mace's effect in order to pop itself, and that allows us to add a Memento card from deck to hand. We're going to add the Bone Party to our hand. And then last thing that we can do, Cross Sheep has been used now. We can now summon out our SP Little Knight using the Cross Sheep and the Gatic. Before we finish our main phase, we set our 2 spells. And then during the end phase, we're going to use our field spell to be able to set Cranium Burst from the graveyard. So I'm not going to go through like the full plays of what you can do during the opponent's turn, but I will just kind of tell you how you're going to get started with things. So when the opponent activates an effect, you can use Combined Creation in order to summon back something from the graveyard. So it doesn't... Yes, it does. So we're going to use Gatic, summon back the Gatic, and then Gatic's effect is going to allow us to add back the Mace to our hand during the opponent's turn. So now we've got Mace available to us in the opponent's main phase. He can be used as a steal, a change of heart, essentially. So you discard him in order to get a change of heart quick effect, which is just useful for us in other ways, just being able to disrupt the opponents in plays. We've obviously got the Cranium Burst, which can negate monster effects by reducing combined creation by 1,000 each time. And then we can use Bone Party. So Bone Party is how we're going to get our first destruction of our own cards. And then that it sort of appeals to us because we want to have something destroyed so we can summon a sheep later on. So if we destroy the Gatic and then special summon out the Angwitch, and then Angwitch can then search for the sheep, sheep gets added to our hand, sheep is now live. So we can use the sheep effect to special summon itself and then go in for the fusion of the Twin Dragon. All of that little bit of a combo and stuff like that is all in my previous video, so I'm not going to go through it all here. And we're just going to move straight on to the Goblin combo now. All right, and let's finish up by looking at the Goblin combo now. So Goblin is a card which we're going to have to normal summon straight off the bat. So we need to have a combo that is going to just use special summons from there on. We can still get a really strong board by the end of it with just Goblin in our hand. So I'm going to go through this a little bit faster than we did with the Horse combo because you've already seen what all other cards do. So first of all, we're going to normal summon the Goblin. We're going to use the Goblin effect, popping itself in order to send 2 to the graveyard from the deck. This time we are going to choose Memento Fusion and Memento Gatic. Those are the 2 that we're going to send to the graveyard. Now, Gatic, when he's sent to the graveyard by a Memento Monster's effect, gets to special summon himself, and when he's normal or special summoned, we get to add back a card from the graveyard to the hand. So now we can add our Fusion back to the hand. Now, Fusion's really useful because, as I've said before, you can shuffle from the graveyard back into the deck for the fusion summon of a Memento monster, but also you can, you don't have to do just that. You can do both from the field and shuffle back in from the graveyard, which is exactly what we're going to do here because we've only got 2 monsters in rotation. We're going to use Memento Fusion, shuffle the Goblin back into the deck, send the Gatic from the field to the graveyard, in order to summon out our Twin Dragon. All right, Twin Dragon is going to have an effect on summon as usual. He's going to pop himself, and then we're going to add monsters to our hand. So, pop the Twin Dragon, and then we're going to add the Combined Creation and the Sheep to our hand. Twin Dragon effect, because he's been popped, allows us to then add special summon a level 6 or lower monster from the graveyard. So we're going to summon the Gatic back. All right, we've had monsters popped and we've got sheep in hand. That means that we can summon sheep and use its effect to fuse. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to summon the sheep, and sheep's effect to fuse you can use from hand or field. So we're going to use the Combined Creation in the hand because we do not mind if this goes to the graveyard in the slightest. It is absolutely fine if this ends up in the graveyard. We're going to summon out our Creation King. Okay, king effect on summon. It's going to allow us to send monsters to the graveyard. Send monsters to the graveyard. So we're going to send Dark Blade and Akihiron from our deck and Creation King from our extra deck. We're sending all of those to the graveyard. All right. Straight away, we're going to use the effect of the king that we just sent to the graveyard, banishing it from the graveyard in order to add our field spell to our hand. And then we're going to play the field spell straight to the field afterwards, because we need that when we're going to be doing some pops in a second. Okay, now we've got Fusion in the graveyard. That's the next one that we're going to go for. Fusion in the graveyard allows us to banish Fusion, pop a card, and then add a spell or trap to our hand. So we're going to pop the Fusion, banish the Fusion, pop the Creation King, and then add Bone Party to our hand. Field spell is going to go off as Chainlink 1. Chainlink 2 is then going to be Akihiron in the graveyard. So Akihiron is going to special summon itself. And then the field spell is going to special summon our Dark Blade from our hand. Now, Dark Blade, we know, can do lots of work in this deck. So having this come out from the field spell is really handy. We don't have to use a normal summon in order to be able to get it. All right, Blade effect. We're now going to pop the Akihiron in order to special summon our Angwitch. Angwitch, our main searcher for the deck, will allow us to search once it's summoned. So Chainlink 1, Angwitch. Chainlink 2, Akihiron. So Akihiron is the card that adds back from graveyard or banishment. So we can add back that Fusion so that we've got that next turn as well. And then Angwitch allows us to add the Horned Dragon to our hand. Okay, we have got 3 or more Memento monsters in our graveyard, which means that we can special summon out our Horned Dragon. Now, we need to be able to get hold of like our Cranium Burst, essentially. So there's only really one way now that we're going to be able to get that, and that's through Macy's effect. So we're going to actually have to use this Bone Party in our hand, but don't worry, we can get it back later. So we're going to activate the Bone Party. We can pop whatever we want here. We're using Bone Party, but I'm going to pop the Angwitch in order to special summon our Mace out from the deck. Almost done. We're now going to use the Mace effect. Pop itself. It allows us to add to our hand our Cranium Burst, 1 Memento card, so we add the Cranium Burst to our hand. Last thing to do now, we can link off. You've got a choice of what you can link off for here, really. But if you link off these two, you got the choice of going into an IP Masquerena, which is what I'm going to choose here, but you can also go into your SP Little Knight. You can go into Silhouhatte Rabbit if you've got it. I don't have it, so I'm not going into it, in order to be able to get your Apophis to Swamp Deity. But yeah, SP Little Knight is also a perfectly acceptable choice here, particularly if you're thinking that your opponents are going to Nibiru you right at the end. And then lastly, we're going to special summon out our Combined. So when you special summon out your Combined, one thing that you need to make sure that you do is you need to use your Creation King as part of the summon and your Twin Dragons. So send them from the graveyard back into the extra deck for the special summon. The other thing's kind of a little bit optional, but I would keep the Angwitch in the graveyard, keep the Akihiron in the graveyard for use later on. Definitely shuffle back the Gartic. So shuffle back the Gartic, and then you can shuffle back the Mace because we can search him later, and probably shuffle back the Dark Blade or the Sheep, because again, you're going to be able to search the Sheep again. So if we shuffle back the Sheep, it's absolutely fine, because we're going to get a search straight away off Angwitch anyway. So shuffle them back in order to special summon from your graveyard the Combined Creation. From there, set 2, set your Cranium Burst, set your Fusion, and then during the end phase, your field spell will then go off, allowing you to set from your graveyard the Bone Party once again. And then once again, during your opponent's turn, all you need to be able to do is once they activate an effect, use Combine Creation in order to summon your Angwitch back. Angwitch allows you to search. You can get your sheep in your hand, and you're basically in the same position as what we were in when we had the horse in our hand. We can use then Bone Party in order to pop a monster, so sheep becomes live, and then you're off to the races. You can do whatever you want then, using your twin dragon, popping, searching for Mason and Goblin, being able to get those cards to your hand. So you've got lots that you can do. I'm not going to go through the full opponent's turn on this one, but with that, that is what you can get done using your horse and goblin as your one-card combos. Of course, with the goblin combo as well, you can have any other monster in your hand, plus a copy of Goblin Biker Grand Breakout. So tribute one monster to special summon one goblin monster from your deck, but it cannot attack this turn. That's absolutely fine that it can't attack if you're going turn one. So even if you draw like quite badly and maybe draw into 2 Ash Blossoms or something like that, you could always normal summon out the Ash Blossom and use your Grand Breakout in order to be able to go into that combo, because you're using your normal summon for the goblin, you're using your normal summon to be able to use the Grand Breakout. So it's absolutely fine to be able to do that as well. With that, thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.